Ladies and gentlemen, you won't believe what just went down in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator John Kennedy just absolutely roasted 2 federal judge nominees, catching them red-handed and spotlighting everything conservatives have been warning about for years: activist judges, soft on crime, and totally unaccountable. Let's get right into it. First up, Judge Campbell. Kennedy asked her point blank about her involvement with a far-left group called Workers' Dignity. She denied it under oath. But Kennedy? He came prepared. He pulled out emails, receipts, even proof that she worked for them for free. Folks, if a judge can't come clean under oath, how can you trust them to decide your fate in court? Seriously, should judges who mislead Congress lose their spot? Let me know in the comments.
Ms. Campbell, you lied to Senator Grassley, didn't you?
No, Senator.
You told Senator Grassley that you've never represented Workers' Dignity, didn't you?
That is correct, Senator.
That's not true, is it?
Senator, I have never represented that organization.
Yes, ma'am. That's not true, is it?
Senator, it is true. I served for a period of 2 or 3 years, more than a decade ago, on an advisory board to help them set up as a nonprofit.
In fact, you were so supportive of Workers' Dignity that not only did you represent them, you didn't charge them a fee. Isn't that correct?
Senator, when I was on their advisory board more than a decade ago, I did volunteer my time.
Right. You know what this is? Do you recognize that picture?
No, Senator.
This is from Workers' Dignity's website. There you are, right here. It's got your name. Wow.
But it gets even crazier. Next, Kennedy turned to Judge Lipez. This part blew me away. Kennedy grilled Lipez for giving a light sentence to a convicted child molester, Michael Smith, who abused not 1 but 2 young kids. Instead of the book, Lipez gave him a pat on the wrist, even saying Smith had a lot of good in him. Kennedy's face said it all. I bet the victims remember. That hit deep. If you think justice should stand by victims, not predators, hit that like button right now.
Judge Lipez, you have more sympathy for the criminal than the victim, don't you?
Senator, I worked on behalf of victims of crime zealously as a prosecutor. As a judge, I listened carefully to understand impact on victims, and I have always take that into account.
Do you know Micah Smith?
Michael Smith, Senator?
Micah, M-I-C-H.
I don't believe I know a Micah Smith, Senator, no.
Okay. I bet the victims of Micah Smith remember Micah Smith if you don't.
Senator, there was a defendant I sentenced named Michael Smith.
Mr. Smith molested a 4-year-old girl, didn't he?
Senator, he was convicted after trial of unlawful sexual contact under Maine law.
That's a nice way of putting it.
That was the charge, Senator.
Right. Mr. Smith molested a 9-year-old girl, didn't he?
Senator, again, he was convicted of unlawful sexual contact against 2 children. In that case, I did impose the sentence the state requested.
At oral argument, this is how Mr. Smith's conduct was described. Quote, you heard this testimony. All of the abuse is done in the same fashion. Smith would rub his fingers in a circular motion on the vagina of each child, and he did so repeatedly. Now, where I come from, we call that sexual abuse. You can pretty it up all you want to, Judge. This is what you said at Mr. Micah's sentencing. These are your words, not mine. What I can say, you said, is that this is a very tragic situation of a person who has a lot of good in him, having done a very reprehensible thing to 2 young children, causing extreme damage.
And of course, Kennedy didn't stop there. He hammered Lipez on media bias, quoting a Bangor Daily News headline, "Light sentences send a message that domestic violence doesn't matter." Lipez tried to dance around it, but Kennedy called him out. The newspaper got it wrong? Or you did? Brutal? This is the playbook. Judges hiding behind technicalities, blaming everyone but themselves, but at the end of the day, their records are crystal clear. Soft on crime, soft on accountability. Share this video. Every American needs to see how activist judges operate.
Did I read that correctly?
Senator, in that case, I imposed the sentence the state requested.
Did I read that, your quotation, correctly?
Senator, that, I think, is a portion of what I said at sentencing. My focus was on...
But the words I read, are they correct?
That's what was reported in the paper, Senator. I have not seen a transcript of the sentencing.
I bet the victims remember, Judge. You might have forgotten, just like you forgot his name, but I bet the victims remember. And then you handed down a sentence. You gave Mr. Smith 12 years, but you suspended 6 of them, didn't you?
Senator, that was at the recommendation of the state because
But it was your ruling. Did you? Is that an accurate statement of your ruling?
Senator, I accepted the state's recommendation that 6 years should be suspended so that Mr. Smith would be required to participate in sex offender treatment.
I appreciate the lengthy explanation, but I think it's a pretty simple question. That was your sentence, right?
Yes, I imposed the sentence the state requested in that case.
Are you familiar with the Bangor Daily News?
I am the Bangor Daily News Senator.
Right. Did you read the article they wrote, quote, light sentences send a message that domestic violence does not matter, end quote. You remember that article?
I have read it, Senator. I believe it mischaracterizes a case that is
That
described.
article was about you, wasn't it?
My recollection, Senator, is that it described several different cases. The case that I worked on that was described there, the defendant in that case was acquitted by a jury of the most serious conduct, and that was not reflected in that article. And so
the newspaper got it wrong.
That was an op-ed that I believe misunderstood what happened, which is the jury acquitted the defendant of the most serious conduct that he was charged with. I was not the fact finder in that case, and so at sentencing I was bound by the jury's verdict.
Let me ask you, I'm going to run out of time here. I wish I had more time for you, Ms. Campbell, but I've seen a lot of activist judges, and I'm not saying you're the most activist, but the list you're on, it sure doesn't take long to call the roll. Let me finish with this question. I'm going to end as I began, Judge Lipez. You have more sympathy for criminals than victims, don't you?
Senator, I have the support of the Maine Coalition to End Domestic Violence and the Maine Coalition Against Sexual Assault. I believe that support is a reflection of the work I did as a prosecutor as well as the care I take with cases involving victims as a judge.
You're embarrassed to answer my question, aren't you?
Here's the bottom line. Judges shape our country for decades. If they're more worried about criminals than about you, it's up to us to hold them accountable. Should Congress get tougher on these nominations? Tell me below. Don't forget, subscribe to Capital Conservatives for the stories the mainstream media won't touch. Stay vigilant.